Hello there, my name is Gadriar, and I am one of the Emperor's finest Marines. I'm currently stuck on this distant, isolated RimWorld in the, rim of the galaxy, and I need to find a way off-world. I need to get back to the Imperium to report my findings, as this planet is plagued with many, and I do mean many different types of Xenos. But since no one's going to offer me a ship to get the hell out of here, looks like I'm going to have to go find one on my own. My first destination is going to be a colony of hairy sons of bitches just to the north of my current position. We'll head that way and knock on their front door. Such a small little home, don't mind if I come in and knock it down, do you fellas? They were indeed a bunch of grotesque and disgusting hairy beastmen. Their mere existence was their greatest heresy of all. I suppose it's about time for me to show them a little bit of the Emperor's true light. And by that, of course, I mean that I'm going to approach their little village here and put a few holes in a few noggins, and then after they're all dead, we should be good. No more, no less. It wasn't just these hairy men, though, as I would also encounter some strange four-legged furry beasts that were attacking me, which I can only assume were their wives. Their women were pig ugly. Realistically, based off looks alone, I was doing them and their disgusting pig wives a favor by killing them all. Their reproduction was a sin among the entire universe, so yeah, you can thank me later. Although I didn't exactly plan on giving them the opportunity to thank me, as I was using my sword to rip their guts out of their bodies and leaving their entrails scattered throughout the village. Ah yes, good times, but unfortunately, good times always have to come to an end, and so does the fun, as what remained of them attempted to flee as I gunned them down. Their base destroyed and their bloodlines ended, leaving us free to claim this shit heap in the name of the Emperor and all his glory. Although it's pretty dirty here, time to take out the trash. Ah, now that's much better. We started exploring the entire place to see if there's anything useful we might be able to use to contact some type of ship to get us off-world, or maybe even craft our own. My, what have we here? Stolen Imperium equipment, I see? You poor dumb creatures have no idea how bad you've messed up. I'm going to kill every single one of you. I mean, I was already, but now I really am. But first, how about a little snack, huh? Even Marines need to keep their tummies full, sometimes. Well, we began making ourselves feel like we were at home, of course. While a rapid wildfire was off in the distance, I don't really know, we did try to fight the fire a bit to make sure that it didn't destroy the base in case there was something useful here that we needed, such as some plascrete or plasteel, which we did end up finding a little bit of, and we mostly just kind of took our time, making sure we didn't miss or glance over anything. After a while, we would indeed begin our resource collection. The main things that we're going to need here are some components as well as steel. Lucky for us, there just so happen to be some steel structures as well as ore within these mountains, as well as some compacted machinery, just what the doctor ordered. Or perhaps chirurgeon in this case. We wanted to use these resources to build ourselves a bolter turret. It should keep us well protected, and to be honest with you, it's probably going to be our only friend for a little while, thanks to our plethora of knowledge from our Imperium education. We have access to all research, and it's definitely not because I'm lazy and just wanted to start with all the research. Shut up. The turret was also much needed, as we had our furry friendos coming to attack us in a few hours, and sure as clockwork, they would end up arriving. There was just one teeny tiny problem. We had built the turret on the northmost side of this base, and they were attacking from the south, but don't you worry. Imperium technology accounts for these types of oopsie daisies, and this big badass turret is actually completely mobile. Well, we have to install it somewhere else, but you know what I mean. Thanks to our great big augmented muscles, it would be a piece of cake shifting it down south. And best of all, our new turret friend actually doesn't require any power to function, so we don't even have to worry about a power grid or solar panels or anything, it's ready to kill. Hey, look, it's killing right now. And she could keep on killing all night long. And with our help, we would easily dispatch of this piss-poor, pathetic raid. Oh, good work, girl. I knew I could count on you. I'm gonna kiss you when this camera's not looking, okay? Now, somehow, way, shape, or form, don't ask me how, these furry bastards were carrying some Fenrisian ale. About 3 bottles or so. Not sure how they got their hands on this delicious nectar, but it just so happens to be the only alcohol in the entire galaxy that can get a marine like myself drunk. Well, since it's here, I think this calls for a celebration, don't you? I mean, we are slaughtering our enemies at every turn. We're working hard. And we would keep on working hard, baby, but I must say there's not really much forest left here, so I think it's time that we move on along, don't you? We would begin heading north even further across a river to find yet another settlement of these disgusting creatures. We knew we were in the right spot. Not only could we see them from a distance, but we could smell them as well. Let the slaughter begin. Oh, ladies, please, my God, I'm trying to do you a favor here. I shouted at the top of my lungs, but alas, it seems that some creatures are just incapable of being grateful for the gifts you give them. Like a beheading. Anywho, though, we ended up sacking this base and completely killing all of its residents and inhabitants except for a few that managed to get away. Unfortunately, though, it seems that there is no ship here, nor any components for one either. You know what? I was having so much darn fun, I forgot to unload our turret and also use it. Sorry, girl. We'll get you out next time, I promise. Speaking of, it's time to go. We began heading a bit to the east to yet another of these furry beastman settlements in the desert this time around, hiding, nestled in between the hills. But I'm afraid you cannot hide from the eye of the Imperium. We quickly rushed up to the entrance of this base and unloaded our turret companion. You know, just kind of kicking our feet, shooting some Xenos, and, you know, making memories, having some fun. This base, just as all the others before it, and all those who inhabit it, would end up easily falling to our bolter and also our chainsword, of course, decapitating them, entrails, all the other stuff we talked about, you know what I mean? My. Tisk, more stolen equipment, you dirty dogs, literally. Combat stims, some of the best stims in all the galaxy that will make you fight like a damn jackrabbit on cocaine or something. Shame you guys didn't use it. Maybe it would have gave you a fraction of a chance of defeating me. But when your women look like this, you probably would have died just as fast, I guess. This new base actually had some interesting materials, ceramite walls to be specific. A very difficult material to obtain, and it just so happens to be one of the resources that we need to make ourselves some vehicles. That's not a bad idea. Well then, for the next few days, we would spend the majority of our times deconstructing these ceramite walls and stacking them up in nice little piles for us to use. We would also build ourselves a nice big assembly bench and hook it up to the power grid so that we could finally start making some of these vehicle components that we needed, like cannons, side turrets, jet engines, all the good stuff, you know. But there was just one teeny little problem. There was no priest around to bless the machine once I built it. Oh, actually, there were 2 little problems. I need advanced components for the jet engines, and I don't have any. And I don't have a way to make any. But thankfully, this planet doesn't just have a bunch of filthy, furry Xenos and other disgusting creatures that were abhorrent abominations. It also had some outlanders who were some good, pure humans. And you know what they had with them? Advanced components, just what we needed. Thankfully, we could trade off plenty of weapons and other different resources and materials that we had found at all these bases that we had been destroying in exchange for about 5 or 6 components. Days later, and we would finally end up returning home with said components, and we are now rocking and rolling. It does also appear that in our temporary absence, the enemy's corpses have rotted, which is a problem, and you'll see why in a moment. But right now, we were going to focus on finishing up those jet engines as well as finally crafting ourselves a proper Valkyrie gunship. Oh, hot damn, we are cooking. And we're also going to be refining. You see, we're having to tear apart the fermenting barrels that these filthy furballs were using to refine into some chem fuel, and not a lot of it, I'm afraid. You see, we had received word from an AI on the planet that they have a ship and they're willing to take us off-world. Now, they claim to be friendly, but if they're not, we'll figure out some way to digitalize our fist and to rip out their heart with it, metaphorically, I suppose. Either way, this is just what we had been waiting for to get the hell off this planet. The only problem was, it was pretty far away, as you can see, basically on the other side of the planet. And we don't currently have near enough fuel to get us over there, or even anywhere close to there. Now, I know what you're thinking, just make more, right? And well, I am, but it's going to take a while because we don't have a lot of organic materials in the area like cacti or wood. This is where it would come in handy to chop up our enemies into tiny little bits, put them into the biofuel refiner, and then use them to power the engines of the Valkyrie, but we can't because they rotted. So we'll just have to make do with what we have. Late one hot and sandy evening, we had a decent-sized group of imps coming to try to kill us, I suppose, and it looks like they're even wielding a bow and arrow, and oh my, is that a spear? Whatever will we do? I must not have been paying very good attention because it looks like another group of them had come from the south and started attacking our gunship actually, but luckily old Debbie here managed to save us. Thanks, baby girl. Oh, yeah, I named her Debbie. Yeah. The next day, we were just minding our business, chatting with Debbie, enjoying the sun, and refining some more fuel for the ship. And that is exactly when a stranger, a cave explorer by the name of Freya, decided to join us here. We were fine with it as long as she was a human, and once she approached, I don't know about those eyes. What is that? Upon closer inspection, it would indeed appear that she is fully human. Oh, I was going to cut her head off. Almost lost my cool there. Welcome aboard to the Imperium, ma'am, although you could use some more proper attire. Expending what few resources we have left, we would quickly throw together an armor bench so we can create some of the most common armor in the Imperium. Some Akkadian armor for our new friend. Only the finest. Better than nothing, that's for sure. Ah, there she is. Now you really look the part, Freya. Now, if only we could find you a proper firearm, but at the moment we have much more pressing priorities to deal with, like the fact that our Valkyrie has some fuel in it, and I think this might be enough to get us to this landed ship, but it's currently missing quite a bit of ammunition, and by quite a bit, I mean that it's completely empty, and we will be flying without any protection. Not an ideal situation, to say the least, so we're going to be using up the last of the steel and components that we have in the area to make ourselves some ammunition, and we would even let our new friend here go ahead and load up the ship. Man, she sure is a hard worker. Glad we found her. Oh, good lord, Debbie, come now. I barely know her. She's just a friend. Just get on the ship, come on. You're so dramatic all the time. Up, up, and away we go out west into the skies near this AI-landed ship, apparently. We would end up touching down some hours later, and yes, indeed, it is a ship, it would appear. Thankfully, we didn't have to digitalize our fist and rip out the AI's heart, or whatever I said there earlier, as it did indeed seem to be friendly, and there were also no weapons aboard this ship. The only issue was it was going to take about 1 month of this planet's calendar before it was ready to take off into the stars, so we're going to be fighting off a lot of raids in the meantime. Now, I had no issue with fighting, sleeping, eating, and defecating in the rainy mud, but our new Akkadian friend, not so much. Apparently, our little soldier here has something called basic human needs. Blech. Well, apparently that also means we need to cut down some trees and at least make her a fairly basic home to eat meals and also keep the rain off her head while she sleeps. keeps. As we were dealing with this, it would seem that some filthy cultists, worshipping some filthy chaos god, no doubt, and those dirty pigskins on the planet were about to fight. I'd say they were coming here to us for the ship, and they just so happened to meet each other. We had planned on just letting them kill each other, and the victor gets their heads smashed in by us, but apparently some waster pirates were also coming here for the exact same reason, and they started attacking the cultist, and it was a whole bloodbath. Now, we were really excited to let them kill each other, but as the pigskin came up and ended up finishing off what was left of the cultist, we thought that it was about time for us to get involved. Freya took the Valkyrie and landed nearby, attempting to crush a few of them, but slightly missing, and began firing off the ship's weapon systems. Now I'm really glad that we made all that ammunition, especially since Freya is kind of soft and weak. This would be the perfect weapon for her to use while I get down and dirty with our Xeno friends. Once that great, big, beautiful kerfuffle of enemies was finished and we didn't have to worry about that anymore, we started finally working on those little homes, and looks like we have to deal with enemies once more. But hey, it's our old pals, the Itaken. It's been at least 2 to 3 weeks since we've smashed one of these furballs into a fine red and pink mist onto the ground, so we were actually pretty excited. I do find, however, that the hairiness of these beasts causes my chainsword to get a little clogged up, you could say, causing me to need to clean it afterward, but you gotta take the good with the bad. Oh, hey, looks like we killed them all. Well, I'm glad that that was fun, because something tells me that we're going to be having a lot more encounters like that before we finally get off-world. We would eventually set up our very basic little huts here. This way, our new friend Freya doesn't end up having several mental breaks or freezing to death this winter. With all the raids coming our way and all these ugly factions trying to kill us as much as possible, I thought it might be a good idea for us to collect as many resources as possible in our downtime, i.e. steel and components, mostly of course, as well as a little bit of wood for some trenches. But alas, this too would constantly be interrupted by raids. This time around, it seems to be a great big raid from a bunch of impids, once again coming with the ambition, the hope, and the dream of taking us down by poking us in the ribs with some very sharp sticks. But my friends, I'm afraid that that will not be the case. Oh, you poor saps. Even though the tribespeople themselves were not much of an issue, I'm afraid that their flames would linger on furthermore, and we had a great big fire that we had to put out before it burned down our freshly built homes. These fires were outrageous. Don't worry, sweetie snookums, I'm here to save you. Thankfully, the rain would give us a helping hand with putting out the fire. Debbie and the homes were fine, and now we could focus on working on our defenses, using a lot of the wood and steel that we had collected to build some trenches so that we could dive down into them for some cover when we're getting raided, and we would also build some steel barricades on the outside of the trenches, giving us additional cover. I don't see anyone hitting our noggins from a distance now. Unfortunately, it would seem that the Itaken had the exact same thought, and instead of trying to raid us and shoot us in the head, they've decided to fire mortars over our heads and siege us. Damn their brilliant tactic. It's just a shame that we have a Valkyrie gunship that we would land nearby and start lasering and bulleting, I guess, them to death and killing them and finishing the siege once for all. Credit where credit is due, though, for a species that barely has 2 brain cells to rub together on a damn good day. That wasn't a bad tactic. It wouldn't work, but not a bad tactic. Now, at first, I was pretty pissed off that they tried to siege us, though we were expecting something of the sort, but afterwards I was actually pretty excited. Looks like we won't have to be cooking any meals anytime soon. We would, however, need to build ourselves a proper storage area, as we have a lot of new items like mortar shells and plenty of resources like steel and wood that are just sitting outside that need to be, well, shelved. Freya was also beginning to turn purple, and not in a good way. I guess there isn't a good way. She had hypothermia, which was going to become a really big problem. To keep her nice and toasty warm, we ended up building quite a few torches in her room, giving it a good bit of heat. Now, we didn't have to worry about this, as our more advanced armor kept us nice and toasty already. With the snow falling and winter here, there were plenty of fun activities for us to take part in, like slaughtering a bunch of pig skins when they were constantly flying down from the sky in their drop pods to try to get our ship and to kill us and whatever. And as mentioned, obviously, these raids were becoming commonplace, and they were to be expected, and killing pigskins and other different disgusting xenos was just commonplace. Very fun, a nice, kind of boring thing to do at this point. You know, it just gets a little bit repetitive. So, we were also doing some other recreational activities, like playing chess together. It really helped break up the monotony of having to kill people like every other day, if not more often, and it kept our wits sharp and was great for conversation. Though with my gigantic fingers in the armor, I found it a little bit hard to move the pieces, but whatever. And yes, for those of you interested in my love life, Debbie and I hadn't talked for quite a few days. She just can't play chess like Freya can. Quite literally, she doesn't have fingers. But as the ground was finally thawing out, the ship only had about 6 or 7 hours before it was finally ready to launch. Looks like we're going to be getting off this planet in one piece. We would quickly load Freya into a cryosleep casket to ensure that nothing bad happened while we were waiting for the reactor to finally finish up those last few trickle charges. But it would seem we have one last final fight before we can depart. A gigantic hive of xenomorphs were coming right for us. No doubt a hive awakened by the reactor finally in its last hours. I suppose our work isn't quite done yet. Here goes nothing. Debbie, I know you're mad at me, baby, but I need you. I need you now real bad. Would you give me this one last stand together? You are far too good to me. These horrific monstrosities were coming right for us. Debbie and I firing at them, killing several of them as they were clamoring and tearing through the dirt on their way here until Debbie ran out of ammo. It would seem she's incapable of protecting herself and me now. I'm sorry, baby, but I gotta leave you behind. With the reactor and the AI now ready, I rushed to a cryosleep casket and hopped right in as Debbie, in her last final moments, actually managed to lure all the xenomorphs near her, protecting us one last final time. I'm afraid it's time for us to leave. So long, cruel world. Well, 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 looks like our heroes have finally made it off-world, away from the xenomorph threat as well as all the other disgusting beasts on the planet. Even though we left our Valkyrie behind, let's just hope that no ne'er-do-wells decide to commandeer it and use it against the Imperium. I hope you have enjoyed this video, though. I love you all ever so much. I realize this video is a little bit different than what I normally do. Not too different, but I normally don't make videos where I just beat RimWorld, but if you guys really enjoy it, it might be something that I start adding to kind of our roster and lineup of the series and whatnot that we normally do. Some one-offs where we just have a little fun like this. I had a hell of a lot of fun playing this and also coming up with the love story between Debbie and our Space Marine, which kind of flourished on its own, I suppose. Again, though, I love you guys. Be sure to let me know if you enjoyed this type of video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and all that junk that everybody else says, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.